We do not have any online attendees.
Okay. So I will call to order this meeting of the Management Committee. Will you establish a quorum, please?
Good morning. Welcome to the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority Management Committee meeting. Today is Friday, January 16, 2026. This meeting is being recorded. Commissioner Sheik.
Here.
Commissioner Graves. Commissioner Gruhl.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, let's move to accept the minutes, including all corrections of the Special Management Committee meetings of April 14th, 2025, May 9th, 2025, June 4th, 2025, June 9th, 2025, June 11th, 2025, June 16th, 2025, June 24th, 2025, and June 26th, 2025.
I move approval, or we don't, we're just accepting those.
Okay. Great. Moving along. Agenda item number 2. So we're going to review and approve the policy on claims, lawsuits, and settlements. We have Christopher Williams with us.
Good morning. I'm Chris Williams. I'm the Deputy Chief Risk Officer at LAHSA. It's my pleasure to present to you these two policies for consideration. The first is claims, lawsuit, and settlements policy. I want to preface my the discussion of the policies by saying that these policies are basically documenting what we've already been doing. We felt that it was important to actually have it documented and as a policy, and that the management committee also review and approve it. But this is what we've already been doing. These policies have been drafted and reviewed with legal counsel. So this was done with legal counsel's active engagement. So the first claims, lawsuit, and settlements policy, as it says, outlines the process within LAHSA for handling of claims and lawsuits brought against LAHSA. So the policy, it describes if you go to the second page, it describes the claims intake and tender process. Basically, if any legal claims or demand letters are provided to LAHSA, they're to be given to the risk management division within 1 business day. We share it with the risk management team, shares that with legal counsel basically immediately. And we also discuss with legal counsel tendering it to insurance to determine and to, especially if there are potential insurance claims or if it relates to our insurance coverage. Then the risk management team collects the relevant information, incident reports or factual summaries, relevant contracts or insurance provisions, any supporting documents, and so on. What we are with legal counsel, LAHSA, and through legal counsel, LAHSA will provide the commission with timely updates via memoranda, emails, or in person on pending claims and lawsuits. The LAHSA commission does not need to approve the settlement of insurance claims in advance unless LAHSA funds are being used to settle the claims. If insurance is covering it with their funding, then under this policy, we don't need the LAHSA commission to approve it. However, if there are funds that LAHSA uses, if LAHSA funds are being used for settlements, then we need to inform the commission. And yes, in the table at the bottom, it just says again, claims outside LAHSA insurance coverage. Well, if it's outside LAHSA's insurance coverage, it's not going to be covered by insurance, and therefore the LAHSA commission approval is required for any settlements for that. And like I said before, any settlements that involve LAHSA funding that aren't covered by the insurance claims. And there is also a extensive table of insurance policies that we have through our insurance broker, Epic. Are there any questions or anything you'd like me to discuss in more detail on this one?
Sorry, Just a quick question. So on the, and we're having this conversation on the settlements, this may be a finance issue, but on that part of it, when we have what's been the source of funding, we have chatted about where that is and how that, if that's related to this, to be able to inform us as well, when it is not met by the deductible or insurance or whatever it is that we have. I don't know if there's a way, if that's included here in the policy, but I think it is important from a financial standpoint to know where and how that is paid. And sometimes, as they call it, the color of money, because some monies cannot be utilized for those
Yes.
kinds of things.
Mhm.
So I don't know where that would fit in here as you're reporting.
It would
kinds of
certainly
things,
be
aren't
it would certainly be our practice. We haven't had any since I started in this position, but that is a fundamental question: is basically how are we going to charge it? What are the sources of funding? And I believe that we would be providing that information to you because we would need to have that information ourselves.
Right. So I guess whether you wanted to have it officially in the policy or practice, whatever.
Yeah, I know that this is just bringing up a question that I know the commission has generally regarding different types of lawsuits. And when we have to pay the deductible, especially, where does that money come from?
Mhm.
And from my understanding, some of it that is tied to something maybe programmatically gets covered by that. But generally speaking, most of these kind of lie outside of restricted funding.
Right.
So where does that come from? So it would be really interesting to, and even though Chris, I know you've only been here for a little bit, I think none of this has happened during your tenure, to look back perhaps on behalf of the commission to the last several lawsuits and looking at where those fund payouts came from.
Got it.
Thank you.
When I asked at the county, I was told the county pays those. So you can confirm or deny that. That's all county funding to pay that money. That's what I was told by.
Sorry, to clarify, you asked at the county about ours.
Mhm.
Not, okay.
And they said
The county pays
LAHSA
their own
pulls it down from county.
from
funding.
county funds.
That's what I
Okay.
was told, but please confirm.
And that might be for a reason, right? Like that funds from other sources can't be used, but I'm not sure. But I would like confirmation on that, actually.
Absolutely.
There's all kinds of
Yeah.
backdoor deals
Yep.
around what Coco and what city attorney do.
Yep.
So I don't think it's particularly transparent. So maybe we get some more transparency on that as well, particularly as things might move and change after July 1st.
Yeah, because I mean, surfacing, if we lose county funds,
Mhm. Yep.
who pays for the things then? If that was our piggy bank for a
There we go.
while.
Yeah.
yes.
And I don't know, pre-measure A, when in Loss's earlier form, when, where there was county, although there's a lot more county admin fund than the city did at that time, was it?
And still.
And
yes.
still, yes. And that whether or not that we utilized those funds in the past. Again, I don't think until recently in the last year had we had those kinds of settlements or issues that came to the commission.
Mhm.
I'm looking at the historian behind you. Sorry.
Keisha Douglas, Deputy Chief Talent Officer. I do believe we have a line item in our budget for lawsuits and claims. What the funding is for that, I don't know. So we can go back, Chris can go back and then report to you at the commission meeting that's in 2 weeks, I believe, on where that actual funding comes from. A week, oh yeah.
A week,
Goodness,
yeah.
A week, yes.
And just flagging that it may be that it comes from admin,
Mhm.
but the majority of our admin comes from county. So it may just be like a if this, then that situation, but I think it'd be really interesting to know.
Yes. Got it.
I also am curious, and I was trying to determine if this is the right time to ask or if it's later. Like, I feel like this policy talks about when commission approval is needed. And maybe you kind of asked this before. I'm sorry, I'm trying to put all this in my head together. How much transparency does the commission get into things? Like, is this what you asked before, Commissioner? Like, if you don't, like, there are things that don't need commission approval, it doesn't mean it doesn't need commission report out.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's called out separately. It feels like it's not. It's sort of like if commission doesn't have to approve it, commission doesn't know about it.
No, I think if you look, when I reviewed it, if you look, I'm sorry, Chris.
No, it's
just
fine.
to help you out. I think when I was reading it, I saw, even if it doesn't require commission approval, there is a line for us to at least report to the commission, so you're aware of lawsuits and what's going on. That is in that little chart.
And that's
Yeah, let me just find the page.
And that's coordinated through,
So
legal
you'll see,
counsel.
yeah, you'll see right here. You see
Be
the
notified.
last two columns, yes,
Yeah.
that we would, so initial, are we required initially? No and no, but then, but we would come to you, yes, via confidential email and or closed session. So we would let you know.
Okay, great. Thank you,
but-
Keisha.
You're
but
welcome.
Not on workers' compensation claims.
Say more about that. Is that a privacy issue? Is that why I'm workers' comp?
I would imagine so. That's a privacy issue.
Well, most of our workers' comp claims are handled through our carriers, so, once we report a workers' comp claim, it's handled 100% by our carrier through ADP. Unless it's, goes above what our deductible is, then they would come back to us, and we haven't had any that have come back that we needed to report to close out that were above our deductible.
The point would be in any, company or anything like this, when workers' comp becomes untenable, then there's an issue that maybe should be addressed from a policy standpoint. And so the knowledge of where those workers' comp claims are coming from, or summarization of that, or understanding of that, I think is important as you look at the future of an entity or how you operate. So again, I don't know if that's necessarily in this liability, because this is really strictly on those lawsuits liabilities, but the workers' comp is its own separate thing. But I think it might be useful to, Madam Chair, to see where there might be ways in which there's a report out on numbers of workers' comp claims, the general themes that might be happening, and therefore, is there changes that need to be made within the institution to address some of those maybe themes that might be coming.
Agreed. And we can work to present that to you in this management committee here.
Perfect.
Maybe on a quarterly basis.
We need to approve this then.
Oh, that's the ask, yes.
I move approval with just the notes of the two things we asked about, specifically source of funding and on the workers' comp.
Second.
Commissioner Sheik,
Aye.
Commissioner Gruen,
Aye.
Commissioner Perkin,
Aye.
the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Oh, yes, we're up. So review and approval of policy on government tort claims. This is a little bit more specialized. This is what we do. We're just documenting it under the California Government Claims Act. There are specific requirements that we have to follow, that any government agency has to follow. When we get the government tort claims, they're forms that are submitted generally it's a first step that needs to be done before there can be a lawsuit against LASA. So an individual will submit a tort claim. LASA will review it they'll review it for whether it's complete, whether it has all the necessary information, and whether it's sufficient, and whether it's sufficient for LASA to go ahead and make a settlement, or if LASA will deny it. And once if LASA denies a tort claim, then that allows the individual to actually try to sue LASA. They can't sue us until they have already gone through this process. So the policy describes what we do internally, the manner in which we intake and process the claims, what we look at for our review. If it's insufficient, we give them an opportunity to cure the situation and provide the information that's missing. The big issue for the commission is under settlements. There is the sentence that if the settlement is for more than $10,000, A memorandum must be completed by the attorney monitoring the claim and submitted to the commission for review and settlement authorization. I thought that that was something that you all should be aware of. That's in discussion with legal counsel. That's what we were thinking, a $10,000 I guess ceiling. Anything above that, we would need to go to the commission and get your review and authorization for anything above $10,000. And yes, this is, the claims are handled by the risk management division, but in very close coordination with legal counsel. So we jointly, both risk management and legal counsel jointly track all of these items.
This is a similar thing where if there were a lot of $9,000 claims,
Yeah.
you know, like quarterly, we'd get just a report out of how many happened. They don't need to be approved, but just so we know and we can look for any sort of patterns.
As you indicated, these are both of these policies were drafted in coordination and approval by our council.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
They're
they
not
did
with
the-
us today, right?
They did the drafting, yes.
Okay. But again, I think the same thing goes here with informing the commission as to however cadence you want to have that.
Quarterly seems reasonable.
But I do think as we have this on both instances, I guess, I think it would be important to add in there actually that says commission will be presented on a quarterly basis, blah, blah, blah. So if that
Like
can be,
management committee will be,
yeah. So
presented with-
however,
Management committee?
I would,
I think probably management
Yeah.
committee and then it's a better,
we can report it forward as needed if
Right.
we're have other findings, yeah.
Okay,
So yeah, quarterly at management committee, let's add that.
okay.
so I would move approval of the policy with that amendment and actually, you know, making sure in the other document is as well, but with that amendment to be added to this before, as it's presented to commission, right? This is going to go to full commission. Both of these policies need approval by the full commission or just management? Just management.
Yeah, under consent.
Okay, that's what I mean. It will still have to go to commission. Okay. So just, you know, just want to make sure by next week that the documents that are provided to the full commission include the amendments we've discussed today.
Okay.
Do I second? Can I second? I can second.
Commissioner Sheik.
Aye.
Commissioner Gruhl,
Aye.
Commissioner Perkins.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, so the last thing on our agenda
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks, Chris. Last thing on our agenda is to begin the process of discussing our CEO search, since obviously we have an interim CEO right now. I want to share, I guess, publicly that my hesitation on bringing this forward is I want to start the conversation, but of course, I also want us to have a better idea of what we as LASA are doing, so we have a better idea of what we're looking for in our next leader as well. But I do think it's important to at least start the conversation. So how are people feeling about that?
One thing is that what timing, so our contract with Gita is for a year,
Yes.
right? And that was August.
So
Yeah.
her, Gita's current contract will end the end of August. Keisha Douglas, Deputy Chief Talent Officer,
End of August.
end
okay.
of August.
So, yeah, sorry, I think the one thing will be as we've designed the job description in this last one, what it was and what it wasn't, will be key. And not sure, and maybe you can enlighten us on this, on where, you know, how all this is going to happen in the next 6 months with the county and city and all of
Yes.
that. The description of what the job is going to be is dependent upon others.
And can I just make a quick note? I have confirmed with Gita that she is open to an extension. So if by chance, you know, during however you choose to recruit the permanent regular role and it goes beyond that August date, she is open to an extension.
I think that Gita has done an excellent job. I think we haven't seen controversy. I mean, I think it's going very well. it's very hard, the job, I think, and as the staff has expressed as well. So because she's open, I would 100% hope we extend that. There is no sense of what LASA will look like yet. The city has made no commitment. And even when the city talks about the commitment they may make, they really talk about it in a year. And they're building out their own bureau and their own infrastructure. So I don't even know how we really start a conversation. The COC is being devastated, which is part of the foundation of LASA's ongoing work as well, as supported both by city and the county. But if we don't even know what that is, and this is going to be an entirely different organization, especially if the city makes a change, which we won't really know about until I would say next spring, really. And then with the COC, we don't know. Trump could go with a block grant, which they continue to threaten. And after all these lawsuits, maybe that's what they do. And then really LASA's funding is, so to me, it feels very early to have the conversation, especially if Geeta is willing to stay.
I think it's worth a conversation. If, what are we at? We're in January. August will be soon, but I think maybe looking at a timeline of that, of if we think we need to extend the contract, what that would be and when we would need to do that. So we work backwards from that.
Like kind of reverse engineer. Keisha, how long was the timeline for this interim search from start to finish?
Oh, God. Off the top of my head,
Yeah.
it wasn't a year. I
Yeah.
don't believe it was a year. It was about maybe 6 months or so.
Yeah, okay.
It was not a year.
So let's say, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't long at all.
6 weeks from the time we left, the 6 weeks we did from the time we released the job description and put it out there to selecting someone. We were really quick. I mean, the commission was great and,
Yes.
being able to
was a
respond to that. So it was,
turnaround.
yeah,
Okay.
I would say I think that we didn't get the job description out for a month. So I would say it was less than 2 months.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but Dr.
Yeah.
Adams Killen was also here through July, and then Geeta started in August.
She gave 120-day
We
notice.
started that search in the interim, right? So,
Correct. So we started, she announced on a Friday, we had a management committee soon after that. And it was a month, I
Yes.
think and there was lots of people said we should move out, but it was a month. So I do know that it was a month when we were able to get the job description and release it that day. And then she was selected, I think, on the last day of Felicia's last day is when the selection happened, and she started 3 weeks later. So it's an easy time to find, but it's within 2 months.
Part of the reason we were able to move that quickly is because of Keisha and her team. So I just want to call that out. Y'all were awesome.
it was very all
So
hands on
fast.
deck.
Thank you, Commissioner Perkins and the commission. I mean, we were here to just be prepared so that we knew this was a critical position. And so we mobilized to get positions out, posting, get scheduled, the scheduling of interviews is always what's challenging, but you all cleared your calendars to make those panels happen, and the candidates rearranged their schedules. If they were really interested in employment, they would rearrange their schedule, and they did. So.
Okay, well, that just gives us an idea of, this is going to be like a year-long process, at least we hope, so that we could make this decision. We can kind of push perhaps the beginning part of this discussion out at least a few months, if that feels
I think we
okay.
need to have the conversation. I think Commissioner Gruhl, to your point about how we extend Geeta, does the commission
Yeah.
need to vote on, like, we're going to do a 6 month, we're going to do a year? What is Geeta open to? So I don't know how those conversations have to happen and what's the legal way to do all that.
Legally, there's no issue because we have the authority to extend if we want to. I think I don't remember in the contract if it ultimately said and could be extended past that. I mean, that.
It specifically calls out that she's eligible to apply for the regular position
Okay.
if she was interested, and I do believe you all have the authority to offer an extension.
So I just think it is, it's almost, it's kind of both from a practical standpoint, from a personnel side of it, in addition to the public policy, political side of it. So, and maybe the two will mesh, I'm not sure, but I think those are two different things that would impact the schedule.
So it sounds like we need to get a sense of how long Gita is open, and then we need to make a decision as a commission how long we will offer the extension.
That's correct.
So who, does that something you would do? Keisha?
Something?
Yeah, I could, I will. We have a chiefs meeting on Monday. I'll reach out to Gita sometime on Monday for you all and get back to you via email on
Okay, thank you.
what timeline she would be interested in extending through.
Monday is a holiday, so
Thank you very much. Dr. Martin Luther King, yes.
yes.
Tuesday.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. And I think that'll give us more information to then continue this conversation. I appreciate it. Do we have any public comment?
No, Commissioner.
Okay, seeing none of that, I adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
11:20.